I'm going to cover what I know about the route that the Manson killers took on night 2 to kill the Labiancas. Of course, it all started down here in Southern California, north of Los Angeles, in a place called Chatsworth in the Santa Clarita Valley, right over here from Spahn Ranch, right off of Santa Susana Pass, Spahn Ranch. The date was Saturday, August 9th, 1969, when they rolled out in a car to go look for more people to kill. Charles Manson, Charles Tex Watson, Linda Kasabian were in the front seat of the car, while Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, Leslie Van Houten, and Steve Grogan were in the back seat. They got into the car and drove to the Los Angeles area. Now, the exact route they took, nobody seems to remember, but what they do know is that the first place they ended up in was in Pasadena, and they went to a house somewhere here in Pasadena where Charles Manson and Tex Watson walked up to the window, looked inside, and saw photos of children and family, and Charles Manson said, no, we're not going to kill kids, at least not yet, but there probably will come a time where we have to, so be ready. Then they went to another location, and it was described as a mansion on a hill. They looked at that, they scoped it out. Charles Manson said no because the neighbors were too close and he was afraid somebody would see screaming. And if you go to Pasadena, there are no hills here. The only place where there are hills in Pasadena are either over here to the west or kind of down here in South Pasadena. So where they went exactly, the exact house, none of them seem to remember. Tex Watson doesn't remember. Linda Kasabian doesn't exactly remember, but it was somewhere here. Afterwards, they decided to go all the way to the beach. Ended up down here somewhere. Once again, the exact location was not described. However, as they went back into town, they took Sunset Boulevard, which runs all through here, and somewhere along Sunset Boulevard, Linda Kasabian was driving the car. They passed a white sports car. Charles Manson said to Linda Kasabian, pull up alongside that white sports car at the next light signal, because I'm going to kill the driver. So somewhere here on Sunset Boulevard, Linda Kasabian pulled up alongside this white sports car at a red light. Charles Manson got out of the car with his gun in his hand and getting ready to shoot the passenger, or shoot the driver of the white sports car, and the light turned green and the car drove off, and this person never knowing how close they came to death. If that light had lasted another 5 seconds, most likely Charles Manson would have had enough time to kill him. After that, Charles Manson started giving very specific instructions on where he wanted to go, and he directed Linda Kasabian to drive to this place here, 3301 Waverly Drive, which is this house right here. They parked across the street, and Charles Manson got out of the car, most likely walked up the driveway, and looked in to this window here, and in the living room, Leno Labianca was laying on the couch with a newspaper over his face. He had fallen asleep. The house did not look like this on August 9th and 10th, 1969. In fact, this parking structure, this second driveway and this parking structure was not there. If I can show you this photo of what the house used to look like, you can see here. Let me zoom in a little. You can see here, here's the driveway. Charles Manson most likely walked up here across the walkway and then looked in the window that was here and saw Leno Labianca laying on the couch. He came back down to the car, which most likely was parked right in here, and he and Tex Watson walked back up. Now, if you notice, there's no row of trees right here in front of the house, and there is no parking lot where there was lawn. And if we can go back, let's see here, if we can go back to the house, you can see that this is where the lawn used to be, where this parking lot is, and there's a row of trees here. Let's go down to the street view and see what this looks like. Okay, so here's the street view, and these are all the trees that are out in front of the house, and this is the area where Linda Kasabian parked the car so that the killers could get out and commit their horrible crime. This is the driveway, and there's the house. You can't really see it because the Google picture doesn't line up with it perfectly, but you can see the new driveway, the new parking structure. This used to be a front yard. Let's exit the street view. So here we are, house you can see here. I'm going to rotate this slightly, go around to the south side of the house. And what happened was Charles Manson, Tex Watson, got out of the car. I don't know if they went up the front yard here or if they went up the driveway, but in his book, Will You Die For Me, Tex Watson said that Charles Manson did show him inside this window where Leno Labianca was laying on the couch. And the reason I know this is the room that he was laying in is because there's a chimney right here. And if you look at the crime scenes, you can see at the feet of Mr. Labianca, you can see the fireplace. There's only one fireplace in the house and one chimney, and this is it here. Now, according to Tex Watson, they entered the back door that was unlocked, but it's actually doesn't seem like a back door to me. It seems more like a side door. And if you go here, it's underneath this awning here. There is a door right here. They walked in, and that's through the kitchen. They turned left and went into this room where Leno Labianca was laying on the couch. If you look at this photo, let me zoom in on it a little. You can see the side door, what they called the back door, which is actually more like a side door. And there's some steps going up to it. There's a little porch here. Looks like there's a door or a window here. You can see the chimney right here. You can also see up in here is where the front window to the house was. So Tex Watson and Charles Manson walked into this door, turned left, and found Leno Labianca laying on the couch. So they tied him up here. Then they went into the master bedroom, which I'm pretty certain is here, by looking at photos and window shapes and lighting and the way the bed was laying in the room where Rosemary Labianca was killed. Pretty certain that this is the master bedroom and that she was taken in here while Tex Watson stabbed Leno Labianca to death over here, and then afterwards went in here and finished off Rosemary Labianca. And I believe the head of the bed was against this wall over here. The foot of the bed was somewhere in here, and right in here toward the foot of the bed is where Rosemary Labianca's body was lying. Now, it was Tex Watson, Leslie Van Houten, and Patricia Krenwinkel that went into the house to do the killing. Charles Manson left at this point, and Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten were the ones that committed this crime. After they were done, they left the house, and according to Tex Watson, he threw the bayonet into a reservoir that was nearby, and the only nearby reservoir is this reservoir here. So they probably walked out, left, came down Waverly Drive, turned down this street here, St. George, got to the reservoir. He threw the weapon out, the bayonet, as far into the reservoir as he possibly could, and then they kind of wandered around this area until sunrise, and they hitchhiked back to Spahn Ranch. So this most likely is the reservoir where Tex Watson threw his murder weapon, and it was never found, so it's either buried in the mud there somewhere or it's completely rusted away. In the meantime, Charles Manson took Susan Adkins, Linda Kasabian, and Steve Grogan in the car, and they drove up the 5 freeway and ended up at this place right here. They exited the freeway right here, and they stopped at this gas station, and it was in this gas station that Charles Manson told Linda Kasabian to hide or to put Rosemary Labianca's wallet in a woman's bathroom, because Charles Manson thought that this was a black neighborhood and that somebody would come along, find her wallet, and use the credit cards, and they could trace the credit cards to that person that he thought would be a black person. But Linda Kasabian did such a good job of hiding it, she put it in the top lid. She opened up the top lid of the toilet and dropped it inside the tank and then covered it. And it wasn't found until December 10th, 1969, 4 months after the murders, and it was actually found after all the suspects had been arrested for the murder. So let's go down to street level and check this out. Okay, so here's the gas station. I'm sure it's been remodeled since then. I don't think this is the exact building, but the bathrooms are somewhere back here, and it was in the woman's bathroom that Linda Kasabian hid Rosemary Labianca's wallet inside the upper tank of the toilet. While she was doing that, Charles Manson walked into this Denny's here and bought 4 milkshakes and came back out and gave everybody a milkshake. And well, shortly after the Labiancas were murdered, these people were drinking milkshakes. And they plotted their next killing. This was the location where Manson decided what he wanted to do next. So he talked to Linda Kasabian and asked Linda Kasabian about an actor she knew by the name of Saladin Nader. Saladin is spelled S-A-L-A-D-I-N. Last name Nader, N-A-D-E-R. He was a Lebanese actor that Sandra Good and Linda Kasabian met. He lived in Venice. So Linda Kasabian told him yes. He told Charles Manson that yes, this actor still lives in Venice. Charles Manson said, let's go to his apartment. We're going to kill him. So they drove from here. And by the way, let me turn this north. This gas station is actually further north than Spahn Ranch, which is right here. Spahn Ranch is here. And the gas station where they hid Rosemary Labianca's wallet is over here. Now they drove all the way to Venice, all the way to the beach, and they went to his apartment, which is, or was, right here, this complex right here. This building here, it's a 5-story apartment building. Saladin Nader's apartment was on the 5th floor, the top floor. Not sure which room it exactly was, but it was on this top floor. And when they arrived, Charles Manson gave Linda Kasabian a knife, gave a knife to Susan Atkins and the gun to Steve Grogan, and then gave them specific directions on how they should kill him. After Charles Manson gave them the specific directions on how they should kill him, he drove back to Spahn Ranch. Now let's go down to the street level here, right there. And if you look, this is the side of the apartment, and Saladin Nader's apartment was up here on the 5th floor somewhere. So Linda Kasabian, not wanting to kill anybody or have anybody else killed, went into the building with Steve Grogan and Susan Atkins and purposefully went to the wrong room on the 4th floor. She went to the 4th floor, knocked on the wrong door. A stranger answered. He said, wrong apartment. She turned to the other 2 killers and said, oh, he doesn't live here anymore. And then they kind of hung out on the beach. And I think when the sun came up, they hitchhiked back to Spahn Ranch. So this would have been the location of another killing if Charles Manson had his way, but thankfully Linda Kasabian messed that up, and Charles Manson never knew that she did it on purpose until it all came out in trial in court. And of course, afterwards, they all ended up here back at Spahn Ranch. All right, here at Spahn Ranch. Okay, so there you have it, the alleged path of the 2 nights of horror that Charles Manson caused on August 8th, 1969 and August 9th, 1969, where the killings actually took place early in the morning on August 9th, 1969 at the Tate residence, and early morning, August 10th, 1969, Sunday morning at the Leno Labianca and Rosemary Labianca residence. And it all started from this area here, Spahn Ranch.